Today we have a great malicious compliance story of a manager wanting you to work more, but not wanting you to work so much. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, Pursey and the Beast. This tale is of a good friend of my wife's, we'll call her Jen. She, like my wife, is a football mom who attends JV football games at various high schools throughout the blisteringly hot Arizona sun. She attends every game. She knows the security guards for the most part, mainly because her son is one of the 3 children she's brought through the football system at our high school we'll call Chula Vista. She attends one of the games at Pursey High, home of the Fighting Pumas or whatever. The atmosphere is as crisp and vibrant as the soon-to-be setting sun floating ominously above the field. The announcer, who loves his metaphors almost as much as his similes, it was actually fun to listen to because it just kept getting more ridiculously funny. Ooh, that play was so nice it was like cornbread coming right out of the oven. That kick return was as smooth as melting peanut butter on toast. Those were just 2 examples of a literal plethora of similes that got more groan-worthy with each passing play. And for me to say something is groan-worthy, you can take that to the bank. I eventually turned to the missus and said, I swear, if he starts talking about lemonade, I'm out of here. There's only so much metaphors one man can take. Then she promptly corrected me to say they were similes. We both laughed as he, I kid you not, referenced sweet tea in his next play call. I know this is unnecessary exposition, but I really want to set the tone of the game before we dive headfirst into the ice-cold water that is the security team. The vibes were so dichotomous it just warranted it. About 90% of the above paragraph happened after the security check I'm about to detail, which I was there for as I bought 2 Otter Pops for my son's previous coach's kid. Okay, now it's unnecessary expo, and away we go. As Jen approaches security with her purse in hand, about 1 simile in, one go-getter does the one-handed stiff arm move, a la Barry Sanders, to motion her to stop while saying, "Ma'am, ma'am, ma'am." She was very abrasive, like unnecessarily abrasive. Like I was at the concession stand getting some treats for some of my son's fans and didn't even realize Jen was at the game until I looked over to see who was about to get tased. That abrasive. The security gal was acting as if Jen wasn't complying with her request she just made 4 seconds ago. Everyone's looking now, and Jen sheepishly inches over to Lady Loudmouth to see what the deal is. Before she could say anything, Lady Loudmouth goes, clear bag. You can only bring items in a clear bag." She was so mean about it. I later came to find out that this was like the 6th person in a row she had to turn away. But in that moment, anyone passing by or just entering was like, what in the actual freak? She then continued by saying, "Oh, and you can't bring snacks," as if Jen was smuggling contraband, pointing to her gallon Ziploc bag of granola bars and juice boxes. Jen was looking perplexed, and she was about to say something weird. I was hoping I was going to hear something profane, but alas, it was not to be. But then went, "Look at this guy right here," pointing to me and just realizing it was me. "Oh my god, Rich, hey! Oh, anyway, look at this guy's pockets. He could literally fit my big old purse in his pockets, but he walks right through, right? No metal detector? What are you guys even doing? You can search my bag, go ahead." Lady Loudmouth retorts, "Ma'am, I'm not here to search bags. I'm here to tell you everything has to be in a clear bag." Enter malicious compliance. Jen gets out of line about 12 feet back and 6 feet closer to me, then does the most ingenious thing I've ever seen. She motions for me to come over and she goes, "Rich, hold out your arms for a second," while she empties her Ziploc bag into my pants, takes the granola bars, puts them in her purse, and then puts her entire purse in the Ziploc bag, zipping it up. Freaking awesome. She walks back up to security. She genuinely wanted to go down the same security lady's side, but so many people came up that she wound up going to the security guard on the other side. She holds up her Ziploc bag with a purse in it and gets right through, as security guy 2 says, "Well, never seen that before, but have fun," with a smile on his face almost as big as Jen's. MUE, more unnecessary exposition. For those sports fans out there, we lost 33-3. I'll say what I always say on the wrong side of a blowout. The game was a lot closer than the score indicates. I mean it. I think the only annoying thing about the clear bag rule is there's probably not going to be too many people that have a genuine clear bag to bring. A Ziploc bag does work though, but who wants to walk around carrying whatever belongings in a Ziploc bag? But I guess that's just the trade-off for living in the land of the free. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy awesome malicious compliance stories, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, you don't want to talk trash? Fine by me. So, some backstory. I, 25-year-old female, spent my summer working at the garbage disposal unit in my city, where I take calls about garbage pickups, new memberships, complaints, etc. A pretty chill and surprisingly fun job. Part of why I thought it was fun, and this is important for later, was that the garbage disposal in my city is not for profit, meaning that I didn't have to upsell the customers calling. If they could meet their needs by using a smaller bin or pay less, I could help them change to that. I was also free to call customers back if I found a better solution for them after the call had ended. I did this a few times and the customers were always happy that I called back and offered them a better deal. Win for them, win for me, since I made somebody's day. One day I get a following call. I say, "Welcome to the garbage disposal unit. How can I help?" Customer, clearly irate, says, "Hi, you didn't empty my bin yesterday." Now, this is nothing too unusual. It was summer and the substitute drivers sometimes missed a bin or two. Usually I would just send them back. No harm done. So I ask the guy for the address and check out the pickup history. I say, "Oh, I see that we emptied your bin last week. So you weren't on the schedule to have it emptied yesterday. We'll come again next week." In my city, the options for garbage collection is either every second week or every fourth week. It was not unusual for people to mix up the weeks and call me, so I would just tell them. They would laugh and say, "Silly me," and that was that. Not this guy. He said, "Yeah, I know you picked it up last week, but you didn't pick it up this week." I said, "Well, no, we only collect every second week. So we collected last week, and we'll come by again next week." They say, "No, you collect every week, but you didn't collect it this week." I said, "No, sir, we don't have a collection every week. We've never collected garbage every week." The customer says, "I pay you to collect my garbage every week. What am I supposed to do with my garbage if you don't come collect it every week? I can't last 2 weeks." Mind you, he obviously had up until this moment because, once again, we have never collected garbage every week. I said, "Well, you could try recycling or sort out your food waste, or you could switch out for a bigger bin." They say, "I already recycle everything I can recycle. I have my own compost, so I don't even throw my food in the bin. I just have a lot of garbage, and I need you to come pick it up because I pay you to do that every week." I say, "Well," the customer interrupts me, "You know what? I don't want to talk about this anymore." And without me saying another word, he hangs up. As I was processing his call, something he said clicked in my head. In the city where I live, you pay an extra amount for throwing food in the regular trash, which the customer was paying for. This guy had said that he had his own compost, which merited him a lower garbage fee of about 70 euros a year. Remember, I was free to call him back and tell him the happy news. Had he been any other customer, I would have, but he didn't want to talk about trash with me, so who am I to disobey him? 70 euros might not be a lot, but I get immense satisfaction thinking about this guy literally putting it in the trash, which is still getting picked up every second week, as it always has. Honestly, although you had to sit there and deal with this guy, at least at some point either they realized they were wrong and shamelessly got out of there, or they realized it was worthless and shamelessly got out of there. I will say though, either I do produce too much trash, or it would kinda suck to have only every other week collection. This next story is compulsory after school running in November. Back in the 90s, I was a generally unhealthy, no change there, teenager attending secondary school. This is a UK-based story, by the way. For US people, this would be a junior in high school. It was a normal state school, not a boarding school or anything, but it had delusions of being some kind of posh institution. So they had 4 houses named after ex-pupils who had died in the First War. Kind of like Hogwarts, except not even vaguely magical. Each house had a teacher who ran it. I was unfortunate enough to be put in the house run by one of the PE, physical education or gym teachers. The pupils in the other houses were lucky enough to be led by maths, English, and history teachers, who quite rightly didn't give much of a crap about PE. Occasionally, the different houses would have to do extra PE sessions after normal school hours, and as our house was the one lorded over by a PE teacher, we had the joy of being subjected to this far more often than the others. So one rather chilly November afternoon, the members of our house filed out onto the school playing fields and were told to do 3 full laps before we could go home. Now, these were fairly big fields, so one lap was at least 1.5 miles, if not more. Our PE teaching head of house stood at the start/finish line and watched us go around, making sure all of us did all our laps. By the end of lap 1, I was firmly in last place, and as I jogged, past the teacher, I noticed that the macho jerkhead was standing there in shorts and a t-shirt in November. By the end of my second lap, the athletic kids had finished and all 3 had gone home. But there was the teacher, still stood there monitoring us slow kids, with his arms crossed, visibly shivering. With about 3/4 of my last lap left to go, I was the only one left out there. By this point, I was fairly sure that Mr. PE teacher couldn't actually punish me for lack of effort, so I slowed down to a walk, and not an especially fast walk, just enough for the movement to keep me warm. When I finally finished the last lap, our esteemed PE teaching head of house looked to be about 2 minutes away from full-blown hypothermia. This didn't stop him from attempting a sarcastic rebuke through his chattering teeth. "Oh, well done, you finally finished. I think you could have done that a bit faster, couldn't you?" I just walked past him, without stopping or looking at him, and said, "Yeah, I could have." That was the last time anyone was forced to do after-school PE. I mean, if I were in OP's position, I would be pretty miserable. Back in high school, it was normal to have a few gym classes throughout your time, and every time, the final exam in gym class would be 1 mile around the football track, and I don't know, there was just something about this track that seemed daunting and impossible. Anyways, they had a small equipment shed off to the side, so you could kind of hide out of sight for a while and kind of catch your breath a little bit. You had to do like 4 laps or something. I remember doing like 2, wasting a bunch of time out of sight, and then just walking back up after like the 3rd lap and being like, "Yeah, I'm done. That was my 4th. The teacher looked at me and was like, "Are you sure?" Yes, absolutely. I think I still passed the final exam. Our next story is, manager reprimands me for working too much after constantly burying me in projects. I'm a tax preparer, and we all know about tax season. Usually we have to work 55 to 60 hours a week, which is pretty standard. But this year, the company decided to reduce it to 50 in an attempt to promote better work-life balance. Realistically speaking, there was no way this was going to work out because outside of my local office, the other offices in the company notoriously struggled to get their tax returns done on time with 55 to 60 a week. They also had increased our yearly charge hour goals, which I thought was pretty counterintuitive. Either way, I decided to say screw it and just do the 50 because I'll take the extra time. Sure. That adventure died quickly because my manager just started burying me in projects. For some background on my manager, he sucked at his job, constantly contradicts himself, throws others under the bus, and hounds you about being efficient and getting his projects done, but then waits forever to get them reviewed. He also has no problem bossing people around and being condescending, but the moment someone with an ounce of authority pushes down on him, he instantly folds and bends to their will like a dog after its owner tells it to roll, even if they have no idea what they're talking about. So as I'm working on all these projects he's buried me in, I soon realized that 50 is not gonna allow me to get all this done. It's definitely not that I was taking too long to do them. I am confident that my track record of that company shows that I got stuff done and pushed out in a timely manner. But between the budget hours that these projects had as whole, the 50 hours, and the line of other projects I had from other people, yeah, fat chance I was gonna make it. So I decided, screw it. I'll just do 55 to 60 because I'm a team player. I did like working at that place. I figured I'd get ahead of the company's lovely charge hour goal and brownie points couldn't hurt. Then my manager comes into play again. He asks me if I can hop on a call, and that's where it begins. He asks me about my time card because even though my requirement is 50, I still book the 55 to 60 because I ain't working for free. I find out in that meeting, a partner from another office looked at my time card and started questioning it, then proceeded to start saying all kinds of things about me and accusing me of stuff. I apparently now had a nickname amongst him in that group as the 60-hour man. My manager rips me a new one because I'm working too much, and I don't have to do that. And yes, I didn't have to do that, but it was my choice that I was okay with making. I then realized that my manager was also in on the call, and listening to this partner say all this stuff about me, but he didn't stick up for me. And knowing darn well how much he put on my plate, seemed to have agreed with this guy who has no idea what's going on. I felt extremely backstabbed by this, but I decided, okay, fine, I won't work too much. So went back down to 50 hours. Again, I'll take the extra time. As a result, he got antsy about some of the projects because they weren't getting done yet. I couldn't have gotten to them within the 50 hours I had each week, so they'd keep needing to get pushed out. This led to some of the projects didn't get done by the tax deadline, so we had to extend. And he wasn't happy about it. He believes that they could have gotten done, and yeah, they could have. That extra 5 to 10 hours a week I was originally putting in would have allowed me to get them all done. All my manager had to do was keep his mouth shut or utter a thank you. I left that company at the end of July and left him with the rest of his projects that he dumped on me through that month. I wished him well, but I hope to never work under him again. I get not wanting to pay overtime or pay more hours than you feel like it should be worth, but some things are already as crunch time as they can be, and telling somebody, hey, work 15 hours less but still get the same amount of work done is just not feasible, and honestly, it's probably not healthy. I think OP did the right thing. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another awesome malicious compliance story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.